can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
It says Iconic Texas.
Who's our third judge tonight?
Well,
Gary.
Gary Hook.
So it's Gary, Mark, and Brian. Brian's gone. Okay. So this is a basic class level. We'll go through it, show all the images first. All right, that's 14 images. Now we will allow the judges to critique
Hey, Ed?
9 of the images.
Ed?
Yes.
We had
Yes.
a note, Ronnie was asking if the titles are cut off, or you might need to say the titles. They were not visible.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like
sorry.
the toolbar at the bottom of your screen might be cutting off a little bit.
Yeah, your taskbar is covering
yeah.
everything up.
That taskbar is supposed to be hidden, but it's Microsoft, so it doesn't hide it.
And that was all the images?
Automatically hide the taskbar.
14.
Okay.
Let me bring that back up again and see if I can reduce.
Yeah, it looked like your taskbars were locked actually, but
There it goes.
Yeah, there we go.
yeah.
Yeah, they're locked, but okay. Let me
Mhm.
start this over again.
Title's not. Are you seeing the title? I'm
Taskbar is
not.
nuts.
This last time I saw it.
Let me. Okay.
That looks good.
So this is where the judges will critique some of the images. Oh, you can see the title now, right?
I cannot, but that might be my problem.
I can
see
this
it.
time.
I can't see it, and I've got no taskbar. It's down below the border on the Zoom window. On my full screen.
Uh-huh. Well, let's see. Is there
I
a way
was
to
seeing
reduce-
the names a moment
Right.
ago, Ed.
Yeah, right
well,
now you
the
can.
names only appear momentarily.
Okay, then we're seeing them.
Yeah.
So there's the
Yeah,
there's
there
the
it
title
is.
right there.
We're seeing them.
Well, I'll read the title. So it's wildflowers, fences, barbed wire. Oh my.
Okay.
Okay. The next.
Ed, remember to move the cursor off the image.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
This is Derek, and Mark is going to review this one.
Okay. Well, it's certainly an iconic image for me, having attended the university the year that this well was dug. But I like the composition in part because I like the way it was angled. Gives a little bit more of a dynamic image impression to the image. But I would like for the photographer to step back just a little bit and catch more of this outbuilding on the left. I think that the reason black and white was used here because try to give it maybe an aged look or an ageless look. The only problem I have with that is it made it a little bit, I just wondered if it was in color, that the Derek would stand out more from the trees and would give it, help it pop out more. The sky is so white that it really drags the eyes up there. So I'm, wondering if maybe, again, backing out, cropping a little bit different, or getting up a little bit higher to cut out some of the sky. I don't know if any of that was possible, but it's just one of the problems I have with the image is just too much really white sky, which the only thing worse than too much blue sky is too much white sky. The other minor issue is a dust spot in the upper left-hand side, which would be really easy to clone out. So just, it's one of those things when you finish an image, make sure you take it up to 100% and scan through it, especially in the sky area, looking for those dust spots because we all have them. Okay.
Okay. Next image is God Bless Texas. Brian was going to review this.
Well, I'd just say it's a good concept, you know, showing the flag over the wildflowers in the background. I really, my only trouble with it was that I thought that the flag was faded out too much and we ought to see just a little bit more opacity in the flag. I'll admit I tried doing that and I wasn't terribly successful. So I don't know if it's possible. Probably one of you expert Photoshop guys would have a better way of doing that. But that was my only criticism. But I do like the concept in the way two icons were superimposed over each other.
All right, next image is Wild One, and Gary is going to critique this.
Okay, and once again, I'm going to start off with some opening comments. I interpreted the theme to be iconic of Texas, and so my judging and my comments and my assessment were based on whether or not I felt like the image or things within the image reminded me of Texas. That was pretty much my go-to approach. To suffice it to say, there are great pictures here that didn't remind me of Texas, and there are pictures that reminded me of Texas that I thought needed improvement. This is one of the former ones. This is a beautiful portrait of a horse. I love the color in this. It's gorgeous. I love the wind. The fact that the wind is blowing the mane, or whatever you call the forelock on the horse, to the side, and you've got one. It's so supermodel to me. It's just great. The horse is listening in two different directions. If you look at the ears, I've learned this from some of my horse riding friends. The ears rotate, and it allows the horse to listen in two different directions at the same time. So I think that's really interesting. I love the focus. It's probably a little far forward based on what I could tell for the image I was looking at in high-res mode, but the eye is sharp, and which is what I think every portrait should be. And I like that the horse body is just off to slightly one side. So I love the angle here, and I love the bokeh in the background. For me, I would like to have seen margin here. I feel like this crop is tight. It looks like a 16:9 crop, which is a little unusual for a portrait for me. The nose, the lips and the nose down front are, for me, uncomfortably close to the bottom of the image, as well as the ears at the top. I would like more room in there. I'd like to see just a little bit more. Yeah, that changes the aspect ratio. I'm not sure how I would feel about it if I had the whole thing to work with, but I'm just saying that as far as this goes, it's a bit of a crop. But that's my biggest complaint about this one, which is not realistically a big complaint. But however, this is a horse. Doesn't say Texas to me. I don't find a horse iconic, except for maybe Kentucky. Because when I look at horses, I think of things like the Derby or horse racing in general. So I don't know that the choice of this subject for an iconic Texas image was successful. But I am certainly open to discussions about that with anyone at any time.
I'll just say that I agree with Gary. I made comments about the theme on most of the images that were assigned to me, because some were, you know, easy to discern and others required a little bit of a stretch.
And there's the Alamo behind you. Hey.
Yeah.
All right, the next picture is two Texas icons in one snap, and Mark is going to critique this.
It's my turn to be Josh. Yes, I will give credit on the theme part. Dr. Pepper and Fritos, and Frito Pies are definitely iconic to true Texans. That being said, the image looks a little lazy to me. To take a couple products, stick them up against, I don't know, looks like a microwave oven or something. The background is really uninspiring, and just, this was a picture that was taken just to do it and get an entry. Could have used a little bit more imagination. Technically, it's exposed well. The crop is, you know, okay, but there are some focus issues. To me, it looks like this was taken with a very wide open diaphragm, and the Frito bag looks just a little bit soft to me. So the Frito bag either be moved forward a little bit or need to stop down a little bit to get, you know, a deeper focal plane. So that would be my technical complaint. Artistically, I think it really suffers. It's not the kind of image that somebody's eyes are going to linger on. So graded accordingly.
Okay, the next image is Country Road 0800. The next image is Texas Ranger, and Gary is going to critique this.
Yeah, so I like this quite a bit. So thematically, I'm going to start with the theme here. Thematically, Texas Ranger, that's a gimme because it does have the word Texas in it. But from a Ranger perspective, I think that they are iconic, an iconic element of the history of the state. So definitely cool. I like this image in that I think it tells, it implies a lot of story. Talking about Rangers, talking about their history, the fact that they, you know, they lived and died. I don't know where this cemetery is, but I think it's got to be an interesting place, primarily because if you look at the headstones throughout the background, they are all a tilt. So this cemetery has been here for a while, and the ground has shifted and things have moved, and it's like how many stories exist here? I wonder. I think it's great. Where I would like to see something different. So I like the depth of field. I think the depth of field is appropriate here. The background is not super blurry. It's just there. So I think that's great. That upper right left corner bothers me greatly. I keep looking at it, and I don't want to. That's a high contrast area up there that's large, and it's just open, and it's just, I don't want it there. I generally am not a fan of Dutch tilts, so the horizon here is not level. So I would normally go, I'm not happy. However, I'm not going to actually complain about that because it doesn't bother me. I think it's fitting given that the angle of the headstones is varied as well. So I think it works in this particular image. I'm not sure about cropping this headstone in the foreground though. I like that we can see the memory of Captain Nelson Merrill. That's cool. I don't know how I feel about having the whole thing there. It's a bit of a challenge. I recognize the approach here is a bit of a challenge because trying to get the cross, the Texas Ranger cross, trying to get that headstone, trying to get the background, there are a lot of conflicting elements here, and I don't know that it would have been possible to get exactly a perfect, air quotes there, a perfect shot. But as it stands, I enjoyed this, and I ranked it well overall because of the content, the work, the technical, and theme.
Okay, next image is on the trail of the Texas Revolution.
That would be me. Okay, well.
No, actually,
It's not me?
no one was going to verbally critique this one.
Well, I'll do it then since I did one.
But I mean, you can if you want.
Yeah, I might as well. Well, I wanted to say something about it anyway. So theme-wise, I think it meets it. I mean, you know, the come and take it canon story is definitely iconic for all of us who took fourth grade Texas history here in Texas. That being said, pictures of other people's art always trouble me just a little bit in terms of what you do with it to make it your own, or at least to make, make it a different take on it. This is one of those pictures where the only thing that's of interest is the sign itself. I like the textures and everything on it. It's really old, got a lot of cracks, and maybe that makes it worthy in and of its own, since the original probably doesn't have those cracks. But the fence, the white sky, none of that really, is very inspiring. So I just caution people about, if you're going to take pictures of other people's art, try and add something to it, your own point of view, or show how maybe it contrasts with its surroundings, just something to make it more than just a picture of another person's idea. That's all I wanted to say about that. Am I doing
Okay.
a good Josh
Next
impression?
picture is, I'm sorry?
Am I doing a good Josh impression tonight?
There you go. Next picture is Old Army 1123.
I would have disqualified.
And Brian was going, Brian was going to
was he?
talk on this.
I can talk if you want.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so Texas A&M, piece of cake, iconic, right? We all know about Texas A&M and all kinds of rivalries and all kinds of good stuff like that. So that's cool. This one, I like that it's an action shot. The band's playing here, at least based on the raised mallets on the right and the expression of the one guy in back there, which I think is great. So I think they're in action here. I think that's cool. That said, midday shots in harsh light, always a challenge, So this handles a lot of that pretty well. There are some blowouts, more in the background. The white sky being a bit of a problem. What I don't like is the composition. I would like to have seen a different composition here with the drummers. The bodies on the very right edge are chopped off in an awkward way. The guy holding the cymbals on the left, his elbow is chopped off. That's awkward. I think we could have backed up a couple feet and moved to and angled to the left a little bit, and I think we would have had maybe a stronger composition focusing on just those guys. But there's this blue thing in the foreground, and we don't know what that is. So we don't know what challenges the photographer faced in making this. They wanted to get a picture of the band playing, which I think would be great. I was in marching band. It's all about the band. So I really appreciate that. But I think from a getting a representative shot that tells you about the band playing and doing their thing it's very challenging, and I'm not speaking as an expert here because I'm not by any means. I have trouble with this myself, a great deal of trouble. I've never been successful, but I think that we're on the right track. I really appreciate that. Love the color, love the focus. I thought the focus was great. Quite a bit of it is in focus, and I think there's enough here to keep the eye moving. I'd like to see a little bit of a frame up change for the composition.
Okay. Next picture is Lone Star Mandela. Next picture, Stars and Stripes Forever. And Mark is going to talk about this.
Yeah, I really like this image a lot. It's got a lot going for it. First of all, it was a really, at least in my opinion, a good use or demonstration of panning technique. You notice that the rider looks really sharp, except for his the chaps that are blowing in the wind. The front part of the flag is really sharp. The back part of the flag is whipping in the wind, and it's got a lot of, so you get this sense of motion. The horse is moving faster than the rider, is moving faster well, that's not true. He's not moving faster than the rider, but his legs are moving faster. So we see a lot of motion blur in his legs, which adds to the sense of speed. And I really like the way the audience is blurred out by the panning. It's just, that helps set off the rider and the flag, makes them, you know, jump out of the picture. And that's obviously the main subject. So I really think this was well done. The exposure is good. It may be just a tad bright, but I really wouldn't quibble with that. So it's sharp where it needs to be. And you know, composition wise, I like you know, we've got the foreground, we've got the middle ground, we've got the background. We also have that the horse has more room to run into than he's coming from. So I just really liked the way this was set up, and would be interested to know if this was a one shot or a machine gun shot with the camera, because if this was one shot, that was dynamite. So I really like the image a lot.
Okay, next image, feeding time on the range. And Brian was going to talk about this. Did you want to talk? You want me to just go to the next one, or?
Gary,
You want me to
say anything, or?
You want me to take it, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, like, it's an awkward shot. It strikes me as a tiny bit awkward. Mom doesn't look comfortable, but I'm anthropomorphizing, and I know I am. I love the backlight. The angle of the sun is nice, and I like that there's enough ambient light here to brighten up even the dark bovine on the right, as well as the baby and her it nursing. Work on my gender here. Compositionally, there are 5 animals here. Great, got an odd number. That's a cool thing. A group of 2 and a group of 3 is great. What I'm not comfortable with is that 3 of them are facing away from us. So I keep looking at cow butts, and I can't get away from them. Additionally, we're talking about theme here. It's not clear this is iconic in any way for Texas. They're not longhorns. Adult female longhorns also have the longhorns, as far as I can tell from Googling. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. So make it clear, I could be wrong here. But this tells me about cattle ranching, grazing, open spaces, wide open spaces, all great, but that could be in Colorado, could be in Wyoming, could be in any of a number of places. It doesn't tell me Texas. So I don't find that aspect of this image successful. But there are, you know, and there's a lot of good stuff here that I find entertaining, but that's not the one that I thought was the most successful. So I'll stop there.
Okay, next photo is baby Bevo, and this is Gary.
And I'm back to me again. So, so speaking of longhorns, we'll start with the theme here. I did a bit of Googling. As far as I could tell, this is a baby longhorn. I believe that from what I could find, baby longhorns do actually start growing their horns like that, and you know, right out of the gate apparently. So you know, this one is not very old at all. Composition wise, I would like more space on the right. I'm okay with everything else. I just want a bit more space. I guess this is a 2x3. I think it's a 2x3 crop on this image. I would like to see a bit more space on the right. I love the color. I love the limited. Limited palette too. I love that we're all browns here. I think it works really, really well because we're talking about maybe a barn or just outside a barn or something like that with the hay. I think it's gorgeous. I love the detail even in the blurry areas. I think it's great. I love the tongue. However, the tongue is the thing that's most in focus here. It should be the eye. So it's a cute moment with the tongue, but I want the eye in focus, and I would have probably gone in and brightened the eye slightly after it being sharp, making sure that it was gathering the most attention. and that the tongue was secondary so that you kept bouncing back and forth between the two things as opposed to just looking at that tongue. As it stands, I think that there's not a lot here for the eye, cause the eye to move around the image, and so what we want to do is we want to compose in a way that invites the user in and spends time examining things rather than there's a tongue. Okay, now what? I think that's where this image it could be more successful in general. But there's a lot of strong elements here that I really appreciate, and I love this lens. This beautiful bokeh back there. Cool. I'm all about blur, people.
Okay, so the 14th and last image in this group is Goddess of Liberty.
That's me, isn't it?
Okay,
Or
I'm
is it?
sorry.
Is that
No.
mine or not?
No one
Okay.
volunteered for that one.
All right.
So I will do the winning images now. So there are 14 photos in basic. That means there are 4 awards. Five awards. Where are the 5?
Make sure that you're not showing the People's Choice Awards too. That's why I may be showing 5 images. Make sure the
No,
awards.
I may have
Yeah. You would have.
done one too many.
Okay. Well, let's just go through and we'll sort it out.
14. Okay, so the first one I show may not actually be one of the images. Sorry about that. So this is Harley, honorable mention, Goddess of Liberty.
Cursor.
Oops, I'm sorry. Sorry. Let me go back for a second. Honorable mention is Lewis. It's Wildflowers, Fences, Barbed Wire, Oh My. Sorry. Trying to get used to this. There we go. Third place. And, well, third place is Texas Ranger. Second place is Stars and Stripes Forever. And first place is Lone Star Mandela.
Good job.
Who are the
And
photographers?
the
Ed?
people's, I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
So who are the photographers?
Uh,
Does that matter?
Well, it probably does to the person that took the picture.
This one was Arlie. Wildflowers is Lewis. The Texas Ranger is Jerry Berman. Stars and Stripes Forever is Lewis. And the first place was Arlie. So that was the winning images. The People's Choice We'll go through those quickly first and then come back into the critiques. Okay, now for the critiques. First photo is Honky Tonk Granddaddy, and Brian was going to talk about this. So let's go to the next one, I guess. Next one is At the Pins, and this is Gary's picture.
All right. Beautiful black and white environmental portrait. Just wonderful handling of the tones here. I'm very impressed. I think the choice of depth of field is astounding. I love that there's light under the brim. That can always be a problem for people to get caps, hats, and things, faces lit up properly. So I think that's just really, really well done. I love it. I like, in general, the framing here. He's a little bit of a crop on the left. I'm not too sure about that. Where I would like to see things done differently. I'll first of all talk about theme. So it's a cowboy. That doesn't say Texas to me. Texas is the third largest ranching state in the country. Cowboys go to Wyoming, they go to Colorado, they go to the Southwest, the desert Southwest, they go all over the place. It doesn't say Texas to me. From an iconic cowboy perspective, cowboys are iconic, absolutely. So, but not necessarily Texan. The keys on his belt bother me. It's one of those things that should have been removed. Here, probably could have been easily removed in post as well, just to get them out of the way. Once I saw them, I couldn't unsee them. The hand position of his left hand is a tiny bit awkward. I would have liked to have hidden those two fingers under that bar in his wrist. This is why we work on portraits, to make sure that people don't put their hands on people's shoulders, because stray fingers are not, they distract. They don't belong. So those two tiny things bother me, but I am nitpicking. I recognize that. I admit it. It's about trying to do a better job. I think the one thing we could do is put space on the right hand side, because his right hand is almost cut off, and it's just way too close given where it is with that pole. It's just kind of weird there. So we could have cropped to the pole possibly, or we could add some more space to give us a little bit more environment. I think to make a bit more comfortable photograph. But when it comes down to his face and his focus and expression and tones, it's just those are very, very well done. So I think the maker should be very pleased with those elements indeed.
Okay, thanks. By the way, just very quickly, I checked and I had only awarded 4 awards for basic. I think what happened was the judging program included one of the People's Choice. So anyway, that'll be straightened out when I'll get this all documented later. Next picture here is La Bahia and Mark.
Okay, this one, a little tough for me because I could be wrong, but I thought that this was a picture of a picture, if not somebody taking a picture of the fort in Goliad, or the old mission fort in Goliad, and making it look old. Because of the writing down at the bottom left, I decided that this was just a picture of an old picture. And based on that, I almost disqualified it. That to me is not photography. And you know, I've already said it before, so I'm not going to repeat it, lest I bore the hell out of you. There's no sense talking about technique or composition because it's all somebody else's. Now, if I'm wrong and this was an actual picture that was made to look old, then it's a whole different story. And I
So,
was,
Mark,
yeah,
question for you. So let's say maybe it was a coffee tone cyanotype of an image that was actually taken in 2021. What would your assessment of it then be?
okay, but wait a minute. Say that again now. So you're saying this was actually a picture of the real building that was taken recently and somebody converted it to, you know, sepia or cyanotype or whatever?
Yeah, it was printed as a cyanotype in someone's backyard earlier this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be as negative about that. Negative, that's a good word to use with pictures. We don't have negatives anymore. And then I would judge it on its merits about composition and exposure and all that. But I just, that would be a different story if this was just made to look old. But if this is a picture of an old picture or a picture of somebody else's picture that was made to look old, I don't think it is competition material. For that matter, I don't think it's, you know, it's basically plagiarism because you haven't given your own take on this at all. So we'll have to, you know, if the photographer wants to say something about that, then that's fine. But if, you know,
well, he just did.
Okay, so tell me what you did then, because I maybe I didn't understand.
I shot. Actually, I'm sorry. It wasn't this year. It was this last fall. I shot this with my digital camera. I created a negative from that, and using a cyanotype process, exposed it to the sun on paper that I had photosensitized using the cyanotype process, and processed it, scanned it, and there it is.
Well, in that case, I'd say you did an awesome job on the technical side of processing this. And I was, you know, taking the risk that.
But it's not a picture of a picture.
Okay, that's important to know.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
It's important to know.
Yeah, absolutely, because, and so you did that so well, you fooled the hell out of me. Because, I mean, I considered that it could be done, but I just actually didn't think anybody in the intermediate category would be doing that. So kudos to you. And now you got to move up to the advanced category, sucker. Then to evaluate it on its, you know, probably a little bit too much sky for me and a little bit too tight on the right and the left hand edges. So maybe, you know, to make this more of a cinematic crop, I think would have been nice. The fact that it's not sharp is actually in your favor because it makes it look more like an old time print. So I gotta give you full credit on that. So, you know, I take back most of the negative things I said, and I have my few little constructive criticisms, and you need to give a class on this.
Yeah, it's a good COVID pastime.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So
next vote. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I misinterpreted what was going on, but it's good to know that it wasn't just a picture of a picture.
That's fine. And that's just, I wanted it to be known that that is not what was done here. It was
Great, because that would have been,
completely different.
okay, cool.
Thank you.
You fooled me with all
Okay.
that. You fooled me with the printing at the bottom. That really what sucked me in.
All right, next picture is Coffee Up Cowboy. All right, come on, come on. There we go. And I won't read the rest of it. Long title. The next picture is Paintbrush. Next picture is Willie.
Taskbar.
Okay.
No, he didn't. No one volunteered for this one.
Yeah, I did a critique, but it's not one that I selected for the top three. I mean, for my
Right,
favorite.
right, yeah, yeah. You were the
Okay.
critiquer, but not verbally.
Okay.
The next, yeah, unless you want to say something. Anyway, the next one is Mustang at the Capitol. Next picture is, and I'll have fries with that. The next picture is Be a Pepper, and Mark was going to talk about this one.
Yeah, now in contradistinction to the other product shot we had with Dr. Pepper, I think this is really cool for a number of reasons. One, I mean, you've got the product up front and center, sharp. You're seeing it in the can, you're seeing it in the glass with the ice cubes and the gas bubbles, and everything in the foreground is perfectly sharp. There's no doubt of what the subject is here and what this is about. We've got a creative background with a bunch of other Dr. Pepper cans that are out of focus and serve as a great background. I like the boards that this was placed on, you know, the matte or faux background, but it really looks really cool with those lines fading out into the background. So and the lighting is excellent. This, you know, is a great commercial picture for me. And I liked it quite a bit.
Okay. Thank you. Next picture is Texas Windmill. The next picture is Cold Beer and Blue Bonnets. And Gary's going to talk about this one.
Okay. Make sure I'm off mute. So, yeah, add your taskbars above the photos again, just so you know. I love the color here. I love the sharp bottle and I like the blurry background. Again, I love blur. I think this is great. And even what I really appreciate about this is that even though that background is extremely blurry, you can look at this, say Texas, and you can figure out pretty quick those are blue bonnets if you know anything about Texas. So I think the combination is very representative and very iconic in two ways. Lone Star beer and blue bonnets. So those are all good things. I love the condensation on the bottle. The sharpness in the image is just wonderful for showing that. I'm guessing this was taken wide open outside, not under anything. However it was done, the lighting was handled very well. So maybe it was one of our recent cloudy days. I don't know, but you know, the one bright spot in the center of the bottle is just perfect. It works. So that's great. I love the detail. Again, beautiful lens. So whoever, kudos. What bothers me the most about this shot is the chopped off bottom. I'm assuming the bottle is sitting on something that the maker didn't want us to see, or maybe didn't think about it. I don't know. But in this particular case, the dimensions of the bottle tell us that we're right at the bottom of just past that bottom edge, and I want to see it. It just bothers me. But and again, this is I guess this looks like a, I think this looks like another 16 by 9 crop. I don't think it's a 2 by 3. So I would like to have pulled back just a little bit and seen what the beer bottle was on. Who knows? Probably nothing pleasant. So hard to say. But I think very successful in many respects, especially thematically. So I think that worked out pretty well.
Okay. Next picture is Lawless Aberration. Next picture is Spotlight on a Classic. Brian was going to talk about this.
Probably would have talked ad nauseum, given that it's black and white. I do like this image. I think it's interesting. The black and white works well for me. I like, the narrow aperture given the starlight appearance from the lamp. And there's plenty of detail, for your eye to look at in this, from the neon signs to the Lone Star sign to the, looks like a hitching post that it's sitting on, and all kinds of signs to read. So it's I think it's a well-composed picture and well exposed, and looks good.
And next picture is Buzzing the Bluebonnets. Next picture is Lone Star Tractor. Next picture is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Next picture is down on 6th Street, and Gary's going to talk about this.
As soon as I unmute, there we go. Okay. So composition. I love the composition here. I love the strong diagonals that are basically framing the sign. The verticals aren't vertical, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me a bit. In this shot, I don't think it would add anything if they were. This shot was taken in a way that puts me on the street looking up at the sign, and so I think that's what I'm interpreting it. The image is that's what the maker wanted to accomplish. So kudos for that. I appreciate the angle. The orange and blue with the color, complementary colors are great. I think that's just lovely. And it's sharp. Everything on the sign is sharp, as well as what's on the wall, and it's very easy to read the established 2012 and the Austin, Texas marquees next to the sign. I question whether this is particularly thematic, because it talks to me about 6th Street, which is iconic for Austin, and that doesn't tell me it's iconic for Texas. So yeah, if you say anything about 6th Street, and anybody who knows anything about that street in Austin, sure, you can choose lots of iconic things. This talks to me about Austin. So I don't know that I interpreted Texas to be literal, meaning the state, not places within the state. So if I misunderstood, my bad, and I apologize. I did the best I could with the instructions and I was given on the theme. So I apologize if that was, I took things too literally, or I didn't do a good job interpreting. So I like the image very much, and I think it's successful for Austin. So I'll stop there.
Okay. Next image is Capitol View Corridor. This is Mark's.
All right, I'm getting my notes here. So I thought this is also a nice shot. I like the exposure on the building. You've got shadows that are not completely black, blocked up, and you've got the white building itself, which is not blown out. You've got a lot of detail in the dome and the main building below it. I I like the way that the building is framed by the trees, and that the tree and the black sky, and that the trees kind of fade to black. It all works for me. I don't know what gave me the most trouble. That to my eye, I thought the building was leaning slightly to the right, but when I put grids on it in Lightroom and Photoshop, I couldn't prove it. So I think that maybe my eyes are crooked. I don't know. The one, well, there are a couple things that I would like to suggest as possible improvements. I'm a little bothered by cutting off the people in front of the building, you know, at the waist. It just doesn't look quite natural to me. And I understand there may be people in front of a building, so I don't have any problem with somebody opening up to catch their full bodies. To me, that's just the way I would like to see it. Maybe other people feel differently. Or you could cut it. It'd be hard to cut them out completely, because then your lights, which are nice, you know, nice leading lines to the front door, would be right at the bottom of the image, and that wouldn't look good either. So I would opt for including more at the bottom. The other thing is that might be an improvement is that the lights are a little bit too bright. And I know that, you know, if you're trying to get proper exposure on the Capitol building itself, then you're left with these over brightened lights. This is a situation where taking two images with two different exposures and blending them might work really well. So I would consider that the next time the author encounters a situation like this, and see if they think it works better or not. But those are the main things I had to say about that. I think it's a good image.
Okay, next image is Rest in Peace. The next image is Texas Infrared. The next image is All We Can Eat and Sell the Rest. The next image is Open Range west of Abilene, 21st century Texas. Brian was going to talk about this.
Well, I'll just say this was a stretch for me in terms of the theme. I guess the street signs, you know, make this Texas, but I don't know. That's stretching it a bit for me. So I didn't think much of its adherence to the theme. As far as the image itself, yeah, it's kind of interesting with it looks like a real wide angle lens, or maybe it was a blend, because there's a technical aberration on the signs. You can see that the A and the B on Abilene don't line up. And so maybe it was two images that were blended together and didn't line up quite well. So that would be, you know, a negative that needs to be fixed. Exposure is good, detail, sharpness are good. It's not the most interesting of subjects, and you know, it's one of those that not going to keep the viewer's eye on it very long.
I'll add here also that I agree with Mark. I'm not sure what the composition is having me look at, other than the street signs, in which case it's a very small part of the image, and the fact that the street signs are damaged because of the what looked like a multi-shot pano to me, not blended very well. I'm looking over there, I see Abilene Trail sort of, mostly, but the thing beneath it is like, is that open range? I can't tell because the left end of the bottom sign is missing. And I'm not sure what else I'm supposed to be looking at other than a lot of street. So I don't understand this image, and I'm not seeing it.
God, you're a bastard.
I know.
All right, the 23rd and final image is Texas Flag Barn. All right, let's go to the winners. All right, honorable mention, Cheryl Callan, Texas Flag Barn. Honorable mention at the pins, Calvin Poole.
Is Josh there? No, maybe not.
No.
Okay.
Third honorable mention, oops, let me go back. Get the title back. The third honorable mention is All We Can Eat and Sell the Rest by Ronnie Duke. Third place is Buzzing the Bluebonnets by Nick Grossman. Second place is Texas Infrared by Cheryl Callan. And first place is Be a Pepper by Ronnie Duke.
Very well. I would like to say to Ronnie that I loved both of your product images. I thought that this one was better, mainly because I thought the crop on the ice cream was a little too tight on the sides, but both images were, well exposed, very sharp, and, gave you the product in the package and in the bowl or in the glass, and really they're very good product shots. I love iconic Texas products, so well done.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next is the People's Choice Awards.
One comment before we go on to advanced, and that is I sent everybody in the club an excerpt from the PSA magazine. It was about judging, and I highly recommend it. It's got some real good pointers in there about the value of judging. Being a judge helps you a lot in your own photography once you start to determine what it is you like about images and what you don't like. So I encourage everybody to read that. It's not very long, and should be useful to you.
Okay, we'll go through these images. There's 16 images in advance to go through them quickly. Okay, now we'll do the critiques. All right, the first image is What a Texas Icon. Second image is Back Stoop at Grandma's House. Brian was going to comment on this.
I'll make a brief comment. To me, this is a snapshot It's not iconic Texas. It's not advanced material. I just, you know, this is going through the motions. I hate to be that harsh, but that's the impression I get from it. There's nothing here that really speaks to me, not even grandma.
All right, next image is Indian blankets. Next image is T6 Texan, the pride of Texas, trained our pilots to win the war. Next image is Merry Texmas, and Gary is going to talk about this.
Okay. So where to start? Lots of color here. Lots of color. And the problem is I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. I have a Capitol building and back on the left. It's like, well, it's an interesting place to put a subject. I have a Christmas tree on the right, which is almost cropped. Well, it's cropped oddly. It's missing a tiny bit. It's behind a tree. And so, okay. And then over in the middle, I have this do not enter sign and a bunch of poles bathed in red light with police cars in the background. So I'm confused. This image confuses me. I don't know that I would call anything here particularly iconic unless you are familiar with the Capitol Dome, which, you know, and when I say iconic, I keep coming back to this, but when I say iconic, I keep looking at what would somebody from another state look at and think when they saw this? Would they know immediately that we're talking about Texas here, or are we looking at a Capitol building in some state with something in front and Christmas time? So for me, I'm not sure. I don't know how successful I would consider the iconic aspect to be when referencing Texas, but I don't know how I also don't know how successful I think this is in terms of composition or interest. So I don't quite get it. The white lamps are distracting. There's lots of those, similar to the other shot we had previously of the Capitol Dome, the kind of blowouts, and then the sky has got the city glow on it, and I'm assuming it was a cloudy night with reflecting the city light back down. I don't know how interesting that is to backlight the trees. So I don't understand. I'm sorry. That's all I can say about it.
Next image is Milky Way over Pennybacker and Austin, and Mark is going to talk about this.
Well, you know, this is a great, I mean, I really like the shot. Okay. I mean, I've been to this place, I've shot images here. This technically is really great. I mean, you know, obviously this is an Austin icon. It's not a Texas icon. I'm probably a little bit more liberal about iconography. I wouldn't grade off heavily for that. But you know, I would have to agree that this is, you know, somebody looking at this would have a tough time knowing it's Texas, unless they live next to the Penny, you know, unless they really live in this area and know that ridge. Even most Texans probably wouldn't know about it. Technically, it's very interesting. I'm assuming that this is a composite shot of a sky, of the Milky Way itself and the foreground. I could be wrong again, but I think with light pollution, I would think that this would be hard to get in one shot, but the author will correct me, I'm sure, if that's the case. You know, I love the motion effect of the lights. I'm really taken by all these pockets of light in the scenery, you know, and either in parks. I think there's a golf course that's across the river there. There's some lights along its periphery. Then you got the lights along the river. And then of course, the skyline. So you got 3 points of interest here that really take you around the photo. You've got the bridge, of course, and then you've got the skyline and then the Milky Way itself. I don't have anything really negative to say about this. I mean, the only thing that tiny bit caught me was, you know, that some of the stars right near the horizon looked a little blurry or affected by motion because there are a couple of double dots in there, but that just may have been double stars. I don't know. But I really like this image, and I know it's you know, not the easiest thing in the world to do, to get a Milky Way shot first, and then to get, you know, and if it was blended, the blending is done real well, and I like it. So, and if it was all done at once, then there really is some superior technique and planning going on here.
I'm going to point out that the reflection of the bridge in the lower right corner is a scream.
It is a what?
The reflection of the bridge in the lower right corner.
You
That's
like
awesome.
That? Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah.
All right, next picture. My work is done.
I'll just briefly say I was taken by this picture. I really like the color and the, you know, close up of the windmill, not getting the whole windmill, just getting the beautiful sky and the windmill. It really looks a neat picture.
Next picture. The Alamo doesn't live up to the Texas-sized state bird's expectations. Next picture. Valley of the Proposal. Next picture. Proud Texans. And Gary will talk about this.
Sure. So, in my written comments pointed out, everybody has a different opinion about flowers, horizons, and sunsets, or sun in the background. So, take this for what you will. I like this image. I like the composition. I don't know whether the horizon is straight. It seems to lean a bit left to me, but I'm not particularly concerned about that in this particular shot. I like the colors in the front, the gold, or the green and the blue of the flowers. I like the gold in the middle ground. I like the blue and white in the background. I like that the sky is interesting. I think it's fun, and I think the maker did a great job of lining up the sun with the flower and framing it so that the flower is very prominent, even though the flower was probably not any more particularly large compared to any of the other flowers. It just was in a position where it could be utilized in this way. And so the structure and the composition bring your attention right to that flower, and everything else is here to frame it. We keep going back to that. Iconic wise, blue bonnets, you know, as soon as you know it's a blue bonnet, you know it's Texas, so that's great. I enjoy the mood. It's a morning to me. I'm assuming it's morning, so I mean that's how I'm interpreting it. So I enjoy the mood. It puts me there in an early morning with the gold glow and maybe a little mist or something there. It sets a mood, tells a story, and I really appreciate that. So I think there's a lot about this that is quite successful.
Okay. Next picture is Lone Star. Next picture is Gulf Coast Botanicals. And Mark will talk about this.
Oh, this is an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for now? Just a set image. I love the colors. That's the first thing that jumps out at me. As far as, you know, meeting the theme, that's where I had a little bit of problem because, quite frankly, looking at this, I would be thinking of something farther east, but there's nothing that says anything particular about Texas, even though all these things certainly appear in the Texas Gulf Coast region, but they probably occur in the rest of the Gulf Coast as well. So from the theme point, it was, you know, I took off a couple of points in my mind for that. But I did like the arrangement, I liked the crop. I like that all the subject is in good focus. There's good exposure. The only negative about the exposure, and I do like these sunglasses at the bottom left, they add another touch to it, but I probably would have darkened them down a little bit because they're so bright, they tend to drag your eye there away from the main subject. So that's a minor thing, but it's, you know, just thought I would mention that. But it's a, you know, it's very pretty picture, you know, and again, color, I think, is the strong thing here.
Okay, next photo is passing the baton. Brian was going to talk about this. Next photo is down Congress Avenue, and Gary will talk about this.
Okay. So again, I'll start with color and focus. Colors are brilliant. I love that it's a sunset shot, golden hour, so well captured. I'd like to know how someone got a permission to run a drone over Congress Avenue, because I don't see any other way for this shot to have been taken, except for a helicopter maybe. So that's an interesting question in my mind. I'm curious to know more. So I love the colors. The sky is awesome. I'm a sucker for clouds too. So I love the interesting sky back there. I'm not a fan of those cranes. I generally take cranes out of my shots of downtown Austin right now, just because I find them annoying and I know they won't be there forever. But that's just a little nit on my part more than anything else. What's unfortunate here is that the Capitol building looks so small. It's a fairly wide angle shot, and the Capitol building is just way off in the distance, and it doesn't capture the attention. What captures the attention is the Austonian on the left. I forget the name of the orange building on the right, and then you've got, I guess, is that the Radisson there on the right as well, the White Hotel. Those are what I look at, as well as the orange bars of color from light running across the image, more or less in the middle. So lots of interesting things to look at. It's, like I said, detail is wonderful. I love that. Iconic wise, I don't see it here. You know, it's a beautiful shot that does not go to theme for me, because I can't really place the Capitol building. And without that, if I don't know the skyline that's Austin, I don't even know it's Austin. So that doesn't really tell me much of anything or place me in any particular location. So I don't think we were successful there, and that's I think curious. But other than that, like I said, I'd like to know how this was made. I'm pretty sure drone. So cool.
Okay, next photo, Smitty's Barbecue 2021.
That's me. Well,
In a mark, yeah, sorry.
I really do like this image. It really speaks to me. Now, people from around the country may think that they own barbecue, but we Texans know that we do. So to me, this meets the iconic part, especially since it's entitled Smitty's, which is one of our famous barbecue joints. It's almost an environmental portrait. The reason I say almost is because the person in the image is, you know, kind of far in the background, but this image certainly sets a mood. I just love the lighting. I like the depth of the image. I like how we're looking through this door through one space into another space. The exposure is great. We've got these coals burning in the foreground and in the midground that are, you can tell exactly what they are. Nothing's blown out there. You've got this smoke going up into the ceiling in the background. You've got all kinds of grungy old stuff hanging from the ceiling. And of course, the smoke on the bricks. I mean, from start to finish, there's just a lot to look at. And, it's a moody picture because of the smoke and the fire. And I just think this is just outstanding. I really, really like this image.
Okay. The 16th and final picture is Everything's Bigger in Texas. Brian was going to talk about this.
Oh, I'll say something.
So
So,
Better you than me.
well, let's just say I'll have the students to comment. How's that? Does that
There you go.
work? Okay, enough. Stop. Well framed. I think the clock tower is fairly iconic for most of the country who know anything about history, at least into the 60s. So I appreciate that. Love the colors. The colors are great. I'm not sure how I feel about the maker's intent. It's just like, okay. Clearly referential, and that's fine. But the composition and the cropping, I think, are very effective in making the maker's intention successful. So I give them that. I really like the depth of field here too. That everything is really nicely in focus. I do love being able to see the detail on the clock tower, as well as the interesting sculpture up front. I can't quite make out. Oh, please do not touch. Okay, I can make out the sign. So I love the texture on the sculpture. The weathered metal is just awesome for me. I think that's really cool. Lots of details here. Places you on the campus, and you're kind of going, where the heck were they? You know, I would go find the spot, and it's like, see, you know, how did somebody see this as they were walking by, kind of thing. So, so yeah, I will stop there.
I do know where it is. It's on the east side of the tower, next to the computation center. It's under the steps on the plaza.
Okay.
If you go down the east side, and this came into UT. This is not my photo, but I used to work in computation center. So they installed art installations. I don't know how many years back at UT. This was one of the art installations that got installed next to comm.
Somebody wasn't thinking very carefully.
Or one of the artists didn't get paid well.
Oh, possibly too.
Did I hear you say that those big round things were blue?
Yes.
Okay.
Stop it.
All right, ready for the winners. And the winners are, there's should be 4 images. All right, so the winners, honorable mention is Smitty's Barbecue by Carol Urso. Third place, Everything's Bigger in Texas by Mark. Second place, Milky Way over Pennybacker in Austin by Stephen.
Can I say something about this?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Please.
All right. That is the Milky Way over Austin.
Oops,
it
sorry.
can be done.
All right. Great.
With the star tracker and light pollution filter. That was my second attempt. My first attempt at it didn't go so well, but this was my second attempt. Yeah, it is a composite. I took the foreground first, and then later I just focused on the sky with my star tracker and put my light pollution filter on to bring out the Milky Way. But that is the Milky Way over Austin.
I wasn't sure you could see that. That's really cool.
So
You posted on the Facebook group. You said this was like at 3:30 or 4 in the morning.
that was my first attempt, which wasn't as good as this one. This was my second attempt, and yeah, again, it was about 3, 4. I know Jim was with me when I took this.
And a wide angle lens and photo stacking?
Actually, I just used my 24 to 105 for this at 24 millimeters. And yeah, it's a composite. Yeah, it's a composite. I stacked the sky, took several shots of the sky, used stacker program, stacked it to bring out the Milky Way. Took some exposures were as long as 2 minutes.
Thanks.
Well, this is technically challenging, and I really give you full credit for doing such a good job of it.
Did you have airplanes flying across? One time you said that was distracting, and you must have done something.
That might have been my first go at this. Second time, we didn't have as many airplanes.
3:30 in the morning.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. The first place is down Congress Avenue by Hayden.
Nice.
And we'll go to the People's Choice.
Am I
All
right?
right.
Was advanced judged by a PSA again?
There were
Yeah.
4 judges for advance, Mark, Gary, Brian, and a PSA judge.
Yeah, and though the PSA judges' comments, well, all the comments will all be online, and you're, with access to all members. Ed, thank you for stepping in and
Certainly.
doing a good job and getting us through this.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions about any of the images that they wanted to talk to the author about?
No, I've. Mm-hmm.
Nathan's not online, is he?
No, I don't see Hathan.
Yeah, I want to know how he took that photo.
Probably out making more just like it.
Probably.
He does have a drone.
Yeah, I'll bet you anything that was a drone photo.
Yeah, the thing is, there are lots of really restrictive rules about using a drone for doing anything, and I'm just curious as to whether that was an impact or a consideration.
Well, if you use a super light drone, one that weighs less than 0.55 pounds takeoff weight, you get under a lot of that. The DJI Mavic Mini or Mini 2 will qualify, and it does have a 12 megapixel camera.
Which might be adequate. Sure. Okay.
I wonder if that was a composite with the sky, because that sky was so striking.
Oh, good question.
I just think it was a camera on a stick.
So my question to all the winners is if someone would speak up on their process of deciding what was iconic Texas. For example, Arlie and Lewis, who did so well in the basic category, maybe they'd like to comment on their process for deciding, and Calvin with his cowboy portrait. How did you, when did you make your pictures? When did you what was your thinking process?
I did mine Easter Sunday and the Sunday after. And it was just, I went down to the Capitol because I feel like Austin and the Texas Capitol is very representative of Texas. It's the second largest in the United States. And most people, I think, kind of know that if they're into any of that kind of stuff. I guess the second, the Texas land, whatever, the one that was the mandala, I was fortunate that there were not a lot of people inside the Capitol at that time and could actually stand just like right down at the bottom and look straight up to get that picture. So that was kind of cool for me.
Was that a single exposure?
Yes, I took several pictures, but it was a single exposure.
That was really cool. I like the way everything's dark all the way around it.
That was some photo editing. I just felt that it was better if I did that. Mhm.
Good decision. And that's super sharp.
Yeah, very nice.
And Gary, those pictures of the Capitol have the Texas flag on them, so most people would recognize that.
Is Lewis able to tell us about his pictures?
Yeah. Mark was asking about the rider with the flag. That was with high-speed shooting. I don't remember how many, but it was much slower. It was an older camera. It might have been as few as 6 or 8 images per shutter, and it just worked out real well. You have to take an awful lot of these. And to me, that being a newcomer to Texas, I thought that was pretty representative, having a rodeo. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some rodeos this year. But Burst Your Bubble, that was not taken in Texas.
Oh.
I thought I'd get away with one. And the other one, I took Arizona Highways Wildflowers workshop a couple of weeks ago. And we went down to Gonzales and some other areas, didn't really get anything for 2 days. Came back up to Fredericksburg, and the guy leading the workshop knew some small roads that had pretty good reports. This one I thought was typical of Texas in that it incorporated the bluebonnets, barbed wire fences, and posts. I found out that most of the areas that have better flowers are on private property, which I understand is like 95% of Texas. So that was a little difficult, but this was an area that had a shoulder wide enough that we could get some images, but the better shots were on the other side of the fence. And in fact, we did shoot through some of the spaces of the barbed wire, but this was one of the better ones.
Definitely. I love the enriching, the colors are so rich and vibrant that, and those bluebonnets they stand out against the green. And
we were lucky. It was late in the day. The wind had died down, and we had an overcast sky, so we didn't have to deal with light being harsh at that time of day, and it just everything came together very nicely.
And I see a triangle in there with the height of the bluebonnets.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. That was more coincidental than planned.
Very cool.
It leads your eye back to the tall one, and then onto the field behind it.
Oh,
but
good. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Subtle. I wanted to know if Calvin knows the cowboy that's posed against the fences.
I might be slightly related to that individual.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Where's your cowboy hat?
He has all the good cowboy hats. I don't even try to match him. So, but yeah, I actually went and shot that over Easter weekend as well. And yeah, I grew up around ranching, and my family was involved in ranching, and it was a central part of my upbringing and the environment I grew up in Texas. So I thought this would be a good fit for the topic this month. And I actually have a photo I took in my teenage years of my grandfather in a similar pose, leaning against a gate, watching the cowboys work in the pens. And he was kind of studying what they were doing out there, making sure they're doing what he wanted. And there's a photo of my grandfather on my dad's wall in his office. And then we set this up and shot a similar pose, not exactly the same, but a similar pose of him.
How did you get the exposure on the face without the shadows from the sun coming up to the left?
I actually had a strobe on a softbox on a strobe off to the right, and kind of using that as a fill light, and using the sun as my backlight.
Brilliant.
So I'm still curious how you know this guy. Is he related to you?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part.
No, I was making a smart comment, but I should have been more direct. Yeah, that's my dad.
Well, I think it's a great photo, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, iconic cowboy.
We shot several different shots around that ranch that day, and we had a good time doing it. It was fun.
Did you make the picture for the theme, or was it one that you kind of had it tucked away?
Actually, I'm taking classes through ACC's photography program right now, and I was doing an assignment on environmental portraiture.
Super.
Yeah.
Really nice. Good choice.
Thank you.
How's the class going? What's it covering? I mean,
this course was called Intermediate Photography, and we just wrapped up today, and it focuses on using studio lighting and doing studio shots. And in this particular case, I needed to shoot portraits, but I wanted to do environmental portraits, and luckily the lighting equipment that we had issued to us was portable enough. I could take it out in the field and use it outside.
yeah, I would say the intermediate class stands above the basic for this kind of extra effort. The product photography that Ronnie does as well really shows the commitment of that class to making a better kind of photograph.
Yeah, I've been exposed to a lot of different types of photography and styles, and using the lights a lot more than I have in the past. So it's opened up a whole lot of new forms of shooting for me.
Okay, any other questions about any other images? Did anybody go to the air show down in Kingsbury last weekend? Or
that got canceled on the Saturday morning itself because of rain Friday night. Because World War I aircraft, they have to land in an open field because there are no brakes on those wheels. And if you get wet, it's going to be bad.
All right. Well, so we
kind of thought that. Yeah, we were planning on going, weren't we, Mark?
Yeah. But we got
Yeah, they put it on the website that it was canceled, but they didn't put it on the website until it was supposed to start. So it was very late.
Yeah, it was predictable, but you couldn't be sure.
Well, we had made lemonade out of it, but
they already have it on their schedule that November 13th they're going to do the same thing again. I guess they do it twice a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's what their calendar said. Twice a year.
November 13th. Yeah, fall. We'll keep that open, Mark.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Or Alan, you can put it in the meetup, maybe.
Saturday's in football season, though. I wouldn't count on me.
Okay. Yes to that.
A question came to me from one of our viewers asking about, can we use the club to sell our old equipment? And the short answer is yes. And the best way to do that, there's a couple ways that have been mentioned to me. One would be to use the club Facebook site. If you're a Facebook member, you can do that. The other thing would be to use the forums. We have these discussion forums that anybody is free to start, a discussion about, any topic germane to photography or to the way the club functions or things of that nature. But if you want to sell something, we don't, the leadership doesn't have any problem with you putting it on a discussion forum. And there's a way, you know, some people may, you know, it'll send out an email to everybody. Now, if you don't want to get emails like that, then you're going to have to go into your membership, your account description, and block off whatever emails you don't want to receive. But
actually, for the forums, you can go into the forum topic and just unsubscribe.
Yeah, it's very specific. I mean, you have
Right.
to, you know, you have to actually unsubscribe from that particular topic. So just a warning there. And again, apologies for the website being so slow. It's just something we're going to have to live with for a while. I don't know why it's taken them so long to replace their ISP, but
yeah, I agree. The message just said something about how they had to fix some problems before they moved to a new provider. So they didn't say what the problems were.
It sounds like they've been very successful in recruiting clubs to use their site. I go to a lot of different clubs' websites, and a lot of them are visual pursuits. So, you know, despite their limitations, they do offer a lot of things that photography clubs like.
And Mark, I think you posted some videos from PSA. Did you want to describe those?
Not videos. I just posted an article that was written by, you know, one of their more experienced people. It was about judging. And I just hope people will look at it and realize that judging, you know, what a judge has to say is not gospel. It is their opinion about your image. And that's what you're trying to get, is input from as many people as you can as to what they think about your image. That's one of the reasons we're doing multiple judges, is to try to get more opinions out there. But you shouldn't take it personally because a person doesn't like your image. That image may speak to you in loud terms that nobody else gets. Now you're going to have to accept that you don't care about that. But if you're really looking to see what other people think about your images, don't get insulted by them. Just take them for what they're worth, and incorporate what the things that you do agree with into your thinking, and the things that you don't have to worry about them.
I'll expand on that because I really don't like to leave the wrong impression with anybody here. One of my submissions tonight was termed a snapshot by Mark. Okay, that picture of that back door spoke to me because it reminded me of every back door in the South, and I posted it to Facebook, and I pretty much got that kind of feedback for that image. Some people connected with it immediately. Mark did not. That's okay. It didn't work. It wasn't voted well, obviously. I'm sure my score was very, very low. That's okay. The image spoke to me, and that's all right. I learned that what speaks to me, when I do this, I learned that what speaks to me doesn't necessarily speak to other people. If you're trying to make an image that connects with people, then you have to take a different approach. And sometimes that approach is successful, sometimes it's not. And it's okay. It's just one person's opinion. It's not personal. It's about the work, and it's one person's opinion about that work.
One thing that seems different about this month's competition is the theme and the connection to the theme by the judges. We, in the past, have somewhat skated around it a little bit more than we did this time. There was a lot more emphasis this month about whether or not it was representative of iconic Texas. And even in that regard, there's different opinions.
There always will be, for sure.
Yep.
I was going to bring up the same thing about theme and adherence to the theme. I've judged and gotten considerable negative feedback on, well, it's not even close to the theme. Why is it here? And it was even more radical or easier to, or clearer than Iconic Texas. So where do we really stand on adherence to the theme?
Well, we have, I mean, I've been doing this for now, what, 2.5 years, no, 2 years roughly.
2 years.
And we have given a lot of license to the photographers and to the judges to decide whether something relates to the theme. Sometimes the only thing that makes it match the theme is the title. And we could argue about whether that's reasonable or not. Would it be better, and we've been kind of vague about what the theme means, because some of them are, you know, like Patty has brought up at some of our leadership meetings, would be, you know, something that is subject to interpretation, like pedal to the metal. What does that really mean? And it's perfectly legitimate, you know. Do I, as in any future competition coordinators, need to make our guidelines for the theme more specific? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
I think
one thing that's nice about something like pedal to the metal, ambiguity allows for creativity and a different interpretation so it gives opportunities for creativity with some ambiguity there.
Yeah, the last theme was curves. But I just want to say that other difference this month is that the leadership group determined that we were not going to be using the scoring. There was comments, you know, we had 7 sliders, and the judges were supposed to score. And am I correct this time, Mark? The judges just had to rank order. So they were pretty free to rank order their, you know, just how they felt. Yeah. Basically, maybe the theme came into more play this time. They're supposed to have made some written comments, I believe, on each image they were assigned, correct? But they were just ranking them, and they didn't have to come up with a score to fit the ranking.
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I ranked them the way I liked them, and then I scored the one I liked most with the highest score and on down. But I tried to, you know, I'll encourage everybody to look at the judging instruction page on the website, and it's got a range of scores that we're trying to, you know, I've tried to adhere to anyway. You know, if it's a average picture, if it's in this, if it's above average, if it's in this, you know, from 80 or I mean from 70 to 80, if it's really above average, it's 80 to 90, and if it's almost perfect, it's 90 to 100. And same thing going the other way. So I try to keep my scores to match up with those ranges as well. And the reason is just to try to get a little consistency, which is a very hard thing to do for a group of judges to be consistent with each other, but it's even hard for individual judges to be consistent over time, you know, because we're human, and, you know, it's just the way we look at things. So I don't have any perfect answer. You know, I've heard the complaint that the judges just don't get me. Well, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, and what Gary was saying. If people don't get you, well, if your goal is for people to get you, then you've got to do a better job of demonstrating what it was you were trying to show. But if doing your own thing is your main purpose because it gives you great pleasure, then that's what you should do. And don't worry so much about what other people think about it.
Well, I think also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if the theme was wildflowers and you had a hippie chick as your image, is that really consistent with the intended theme?
Does she have wildflowers in her hair?
Well, no, let's just say blonde braids.
Oh, I see. She's a wildflower?
Yes. And do we want to have that kind of wordplay?
Well, You can, but you've got to do a good job of
Explaining it.
explaining. Yeah, you got to make it obvious to the viewer.
It's your job to communicate that intent to the viewer so that it's clear where you're going with it, right?
Right. And another example of judges not considering the theme was we had a competition that was moment of impact. I had a wreck scene, very dynamic, moment of impact, that instant where collision is taking place, and it was ignored because I've forgotten what the judge's background was. It was a single judge event. So I think we need to clean up our judges' instructions for a given theme so it's a little more consistent at what comes in there.
Bill?
Well, that brings up an interesting point, Bill, and maybe if it is a narrow focus for it, you're using your example of wildflower, the intention is to really be about wildflowers, then it would be obvious that don't submit a picture of a hippie chick. And so I think there could be additional communication or clarifying communication regarding the theme if we're going to judge that literally.
That goes back to selection of theme too.
Put out a little bit more in terms of information to the competitors and to the judges and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Okay, can I say something about the themes and stuff?
Sure.
Okay,
Please.
Bill, that one moment of impact was the one time we had a horrible judge. He was all over the place. And I mean, like, everybody still remembers that particular judge. And I was upset too by it too. But he was
Annie,
one.
that's just the
Right, but
most extreme example.
Right, and I know, and I was just saying it was the more extreme one. As far as themes go, we've been trying to choose things that instead of saying sports, where a lot of people don't want to shoot sports, we try to choose something that's open to interpretation so that everybody still can get enthusiastic about shooting for it. Now, this theme, a lot of us had trouble, and I kept coming back to the fact that every time I'd go to take a picture of something iconic, it was just going to be a snapshot. And so I really struggled with it. And I think with iconic Texas, it was less open to interpretation. There was a lot of things you could photograph, but it was, and I think that's why so many judges kept coming back to, well, it's not really iconic Texas, because it was more specific and not really open to interpretation.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly say we are at 9 o'clock, but also I wanted to invite people to come to the next meeting when we have our speakers talking about their road trip to Alaska. And if Laszlo and Alexei want to say something about their pictures that they're putting together.
Hi all. I finished the other meeting, so I arrived here at the end of the NAPfS meeting. This was a real dream came through, which happened only that time when we retired, because the time-consuming expedition is really a long time. This was a 3.5 months trip and 15,000 miles, which we did mostly on dirt roads. And then through the Rockies to Alaska, that was our dream. So we went up to the northern Rockies through Canada to the Yukon Territory and the Northwest Territory and back on the top of the world area to Alaska from the Yukon, and then through the Brook Range up north as far as we were able to, and then down and drove around in Alaska few days we were able to spend in the St. Elias Mountains and other breathtakingly beautiful areas, and then came back again through Canada, and then on the West Coast down, and then the southern US, we came back to Houston that time. And then that was interesting. So it's mostly a kind of travel images. I did my large format camera there. I took several hundred sheets, but these are the digital, some of them reference shots, some of the memory shots, which we photographed, but all images well thought. And then I really hope you will enjoy it. We mix the music under it. So that is about a 40-something minute slideshow with music, very little narration. But before that will be a small introduction with a small short slideshow to talk about the preparation time, and then what did we do, and then if you would like to do what you need to pay attention, and then that's it. And then of course we'll be open for questions. And then I really hope you will enjoy it. And we did a lot of experience. How can we camp and then stay in the nowhere?
Thank you, Laszlo.
No help. 300 miles around us, nobody.
Yeah, thank you, Laszlo. This is going to be a really neat meeting, and of course, you have considerable photography credentials. You do teaching and classes, and
yes.
From Houston, you're recently relocated. So we're so delighted to have you volunteer to do this program. Thank you in advance, and hope that we'll have everybody come back on the third Thursday. That's our usual meeting. Invite your friends. It's open. You can pass the link to them. And
one tiny announcement I have, if I can
sure.
tell for those who are here, just pass the word. In Bastrop, that is the member show is on the Lost Pine Art Center, and then 4 of our images are on the wall, large prints. And then there is a Texas Birds exhibition there too, that will open on the first Friday of the month as a special in Bastrop, Old Town. And then at the Lost Art Center, 4 our bird images are on the wall. Those are large prints.
Great. Can you send us that information in an email?
Yes. Yes.
And then or put it in the chat.
Yes. Yes, I will.
Great. Super.
Cool.
Thanks. We don't have a program yet in line for June or July or August, and that should be an opportunity, not a problem. If you know of a photographer, it could be an Austin photographer, or it could be someone you know and could invite to talk about their work as a portfolio or a technique. The leadership group is missing a program coordinator this year, and we certainly would like to have someone fill that role. But if you just know someone who would step up and give us one interesting program, we're going to be the third Thursday. So we'd love to have your input as a member. This is your club. We're a volunteer club. So we really appreciate it.
I'll help you with one presenter. I need to figure out which month she has available.
Excellent. Yes. Cool. Thanks, Bill. Anyone else have an idea for a program, or as soon as everybody's got their vaccines, we might be able to have some meetups, trip to a museum, whatever. Okay, well, Mark, do you want to close this out? Or Ed, you want to close out?
Ed, it's your show, buddy.
Hey, all I did was show the pictures. Okay, well, any other questions, problems, concerns?
And probably Ed will get this edited and it'll be on YouTube. He's been doing a yeoman's work to keep our website together and adding things to the YouTube channel. So you should have a subscription to that YouTube channel. So if you missed anything tonight, you can even skip over and fast forward to the part where they talk about your picture.
It will be on YouTube, probably tomorrow. Also, this is a minor point. This was bugging me. Probably nobody else cares, but if you remember when I showed the basic winners, there should have been 4 and there were 5. I figured out why there were 5, and I'm gonna talk with Mark about fixing that. It's not a big problem, but anyway, it just kind of bugged me.
All right.
Okay, so I'll have there'll be a slideshow of the winners on. I'll probably put that on the website tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, great.
Patty, do you have any final words?
Yeah, goodbye, she says.
Goodbye. Okay. Thanks to all the leadership team. Thanks to Josh. I guess he's departed.
Guys, thank you for making this happen.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Sure. All right.
Okay.
Good
See you
night.
next time.
I,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Bye.
Good night.